Hi, all of you wonderful scuba divers out there. Welcome to the Scuba Diver Magazine podcast, where I break down the latest scuba diving news and just things that have piqued my interest over the previous week. The podcast is sponsored by the scuba diving giant Scubapro, who manufacture a wide range of diving equipment for entry-level scuba divers experiencing the underwater world for the first time to advanced technical divers and professional scuba divers as well. I'll talk more about Scubapro later on in this podcast. Hi, all of you wonderful scuba divers out there. Welcome to the Scuba Diver Magazine podcast. This week, a pair of interesting underwater discoveries by scuba divers. A movie prop from Avatar 2 is actually drawing some interest from the diving world because it actually worked as a real thing. And a woman has lost her arm to a shark attack. So the first news story is that a funnel-shaped cannon found by a recreational scuba diver off Sweden's west coast could be Europe's oldest shipboard gun, according to an interdisciplinary team of researchers. So the diver made the discovery at a depth of just 20 meters about 22 years ago. I know it's not the most breaking of news, but it's only now that the international team led by maritime archaeologist Staffan von Arben of the University of Gothenburg has been able to announce that the gun is more than 600 years old, changing previous understanding of onboard weaponry. So it was found off Marstrand, and the small muzzle-loading cast copper alloy cannon is believed to have been a working ship's cannon rather than being just carried as cargo. It wasn't something that they were shipping. This was an active, defense or offensive weapon, and traces of a charge remained in its powder chamber when it was found, which indicates that, it was loaded, ready to fire when the ship was presumably wrecked. Now, funnel-shaped cannons are usually attributed to the 15th, kind of 16th century, so the researchers were surprised to find such an early example of the style. At the same time, the powder residues showed that cartouches, which are like a textile packing for the charge, must have come into use far earlier than previously realised. UK medieval gunpowder weaponry specialist K. Douglas Smith was involved in this aspect of the study, and they say thanks to the preserved remains of the charge, it has been possible to use radiocarbon dating to establish the age of the find. So that's pretty cool. The most interesting thing that I've found on dives has been someone's lost weight pouch and a bunch of snorkels and stuff. It is nice that someone just on a recreational dive just stumbles across this history shaping artifact. Keep your eyes out. You never know what might be out there. In Malta, a World War II airman who has been missing in action for 80 years has been removed from the search list of the USA's Defense POW and Missing in Action Accountancy Agency, or the DPAA, after scuba divers succeeded in locating his remains on an aircraft wreck off the island of Malta. In 2018, underwater archaeologist Professor Timmy Gambin led the University of Malta's technical diving team and a private company to locate the bomber at a depth of 58 meters. And supported by DPAA archaeologists, the divers have gone on to recover evidence in the form of life support equipment and what were suspected to be human remains from the crash site through excavations carried out over 2 fieldwork sessions. 22-year-old US Army Air Force Sergeant Irving Newman from Los Angeles had gone missing on the 6th of May 1943. Serving in Europe with the 9th Air Force, he was part of the 9-man crew of the consolidated B-24D Liberator heavy bomber making its way to Sicily's Reggio di Calabria harbour. I had to struggle with that. Engine problems had forced the pilots to separate from the main bomber group and fly directly into enemy aircraft fire. The plane caught fire, crash landed near where they found it, and 5 of the crew injured, including Sergeant Newman, but all of his comrades survived and were subsequently rescued. 6 years later, following military investigations into Sergeant Newman and 81 other services personnel missing in the Mediterranean area, he had been designated non-recoverable. 58 meters, especially at that time, was very deep. The airman's name is recorded on the walls of the missing at the Sicily Rome American Cemetery in Italy, and a rosette will now be placed beside it to indicate that he has been accounted for before he is given a burial. If you've seen anything to do with the second Avatar movie, Avatar 2, The Way of Water, you'll know that, yeah, they spend a lot of time underwater, and some of the characters wear these full face masks, and the full face mask design that was built specifically for the movie has won Best in Class at the Australian Good Design Awards. So the Australian Good Design Award showcased the very best in design and innovation to a worldwide audience. It was originally established in 1958 under the banner of the Industrial Design Council of Australia, and the awards have been setting the international standard for good design for more than 60 years. Every year, the award attracts cutting-edge design projects from across the globe, celebrating the very best in design, architecture, engineering, research, fashion, and social impact. And they cover everything from a range of sectors and industries, showcasing everything from the design of like everyday products to the buildings that people live and work in. And yeah, the full face mask that was designed for Avatar was a collaboration between several key departments and individuals, including the director James Cameron himself, along with supervising master diver John Garvin, Nathan Burke and Cho Hong Tang from Design Plus Industries, Lance Hansen from Weta Workshop, and Deborah Scott, who's the costume designer, and master diver John's son Ben actually helped to test dive this new full face mask in their backyard pool. So it wasn't just a movie prop that they just kind of designed to look good. It's fully functional, and yeah, it is won a design award. I also read somewhere else that some other like commercial groups have been looking into it, because it's basically, yeah, a complete full face mask. It doesn't have that oronasal pouch, the separate section that covers up your nose and your mouth. It's got this big open window. It's got curved lenses, which I'm not a huge fan of. Usually a curved lens on a mask has like a magnifying effect and it makes your eyes go a bit weird. But from what I can see, you can't quite tell what the main section is, mainly the sides that look curved. It's got what looks to be a pretty traditional regulator hose coming in from the left side. It kind of comes into the like diagonally downwards into your jawline, and I reckon under the lower section below your chin there must be some kind of second stage built into that, and an exhaust valve on your right hand side, and a 4-point spider on the back. So yeah, you never know. It might go like into production, and we might see more of these as real world diving full face masks. Who knows? Who knows? Time will tell. But it's kind of cool to see an actual movie. I mean, it makes sense coming from like James Cameron, because he's very big into the underwater world. So it would make sense that he would want a real prop that actually works and looks pretty futuristic. But yeah, that's kind of cool, something interesting. And finally, awful news from Dahab, where a swimmer had to have her arm amputated after it was seriously damaged in a shark attack off the coastline of the popular Egyptian resort of Dahab on Wednesday. Reports say that the 34-year-old from Alexandria was swimming with friends off Laguna Beach when the shark bit her left arm. She was recovered from the sea unconscious and rushed to hospital, initially in Dahab and then in Sharm el Sheikh, where she was described as being in a stable condition. Fellow swimmers say they mistakenly thought the shark was a tuna fish when it was first spotted. No official confirmation of the species of the shark involved has been released, but there were reports that some eyewitnesses said it was a tiger shark. Egypt's Ministry of Environment closed this beach and several others for swimming, snorkeling, and other water sports after the incident. Shark attacks in Egypt are rare, but unfortunately it comes just 3 months after a Russian was killed by a tiger shark near Hurghada. Experts have long emphasized the need for authorities to provide tourists and locals with better information on minimizing the risk of shark encounters and understanding the behavior of Red Sea shark species. So if you are planning a trip there, double check with where you're going. Make sure that you are going to be allowed into the water. It doesn't really put me off diving in the Red Sea. I've seen plenty of sharks out there. They're not interested in us as scuba divers. But swimming around, obviously, you do need to be careful. Hopefully, it's not going to damage the tourism industry of Sharm el Sheikh and Hurghada and just the Red Sea in general. But yeah, we do need to be careful whilst we're out there, and be aware of any new like requirements going forwards. Because if it does start to be like frequent, especially 2 attacks in 3 months, then yeah, the local legislators or whatever it is are maybe going to install some kind of safety procedures or requirements. So yeah, just be aware if you are planning a trip. On to new dive gear that I've spotted. There are a few new things from Scubapro, today's sponsor. So the Luna 2.0 wrist dive computer has popped up on their website. There's 2 versions of it. There's an air integrated version and they just call it a wrist dive computer version. So if you want AI, then that'll cost you an extra $69. The regular version is $510. The air integrated version is $579. Looking at it, I like it. I mean, the main difference is that, or cosmetically, the main difference is that the AI version is like completely blue. It's Aqualung call it a petrol blue, which works quite well. It's really hard to describe. It's a deeper blue. When you see it, you'll understand. Whereas the regular version has a black body and a blue strap. So easy to read screen. LCD black and white screen. Yeah, it's not color screen, but it's black and white, so it's a black background with a white digits on it, and it does look very, very clear. Thin, low profile, slim thermoplastic housing utilizes oil fill technology for reliable performance. Simple 2-button control, wireless air integration. Obviously on the AI version, choice of 2 algorithms, predictive multigas Buhlmann or a ZHL 16 with gradient factors, 3 diving modes, nitrox compatible apnea as well, PDIS, which is profile dependent intermediate stops, so it calculates an intermediate stop based on how much nitrogen loading you have on current and previous dives and the current breathing mixes for safer diving. Personalization, micro bubble levels, human factor diving, optional heart rate monitor. I think I spoke about this last week, but anyway, yeah, it looks like a smart piece of kit. It's kind of in that like Shearwater Peregrine kind of territory in my mind, but yeah. So that's popped up on their website. It's been on a few like retailers' websites, but I hadn't seen it on Scubapro's website yet. Another new one is a new version of the Bella BCD. So this is like a women's version of the Glide, and it's got nice, simple details, and it's predominantly black, but it has a very faint, almost powder eggshell blue or something details to it. Jacket style BCD, and it's built for female divers to be a bit more comfortable. Integrated weights, it's jacket style, and yeah, it's got the a few Scubapro and I think Mara's do this as well. They have like triangular shaped like fittings over the shoulders for a bit more ergonomics in that shoulder strap. But yeah, so that's new. Another one was from Avatar, which is, I think they're sort of an offshoot of Santi. And previously, Avatar have done at least two main products. They had the Avatar 101 Drysuit and the Avatar 901 Undersuit. That was it. That was kind of all they made. Now they've released the Avatar 102 Aeron Drysuit, which I'm kind of digging. It's a pretty traditional membrane, front entry, telescopic drysuit, and it looks like it's got Santi smart seals on it, but I'll confirm that later. One of the big standouts, the features, is the pockets. So they look very Santi pockets, except one is in a very bright orange, like day glow orange, which I'm kind of digging. I'm into it. I always like things if they're in orange. So they say Aeron model pioneers with color prints, orange suspenders, and optional exceptional high-vis orange pocket. We made it for divers seeking innovation and superior design. Our philosophy remains centered around the benefits of diving in a modern, breathable membrane dry suit that provides exceptional comfort. So it's breathable material. The fabric is an innovative, breathable 4-layer 260 Oxford nylon membrane. Offers vapor permeability and waterproofness. Aeron model takes it a step further by using thicker Cordura nylon Oxford fabric in its top layer, offering increased wear resistance whilst maintaining the fabric's innovative breathability. Now, I'm always a fan of breathable dry suits, especially if you're basically wearing your dry suit on the surface at any time. Neoprene dry suits and non-breathable ones, they do get quite stifling and just sweaty very, very quickly, because basically as soon as you zip yourself in, you are in a 100% humidity environment and your sweat has nowhere to go, so it just stays in there. Whereas with breathable materials, yeah, it just allows to control that humidity. Comprehensive range of features, full technical dry suit configurations, telescopic torso, 2 technical pockets, slim fit, and good air mobility. Oh, it comes with washing information. Hand wash in 40 degrees Celsius water. Do not bleach, do not iron. Who's ever, honestly, put your hand up if you've ironed your dry suit before. Do not dry clean. Has anyone tried to take their dry suit to a dry cleaner? I'd love to see the look on their face. Drip dry and do not tumble dry. Yeah, try and avoid that. It's a smart looking suit. As an overall, it's got a dark slate grey body to it with black panels on like the forearms, the crotch, and the and your knees. One of the pockets is the same grey colour as the rest of the suit, but yeah, you have this Dayglow orange one on your left hand thigh, which I'm kind of into. I like a little bit of asymmetry, and I do like Avatar's new like branding. They were kind of simple when they were first released, but now they seem to have found their groove, as it were. Yeah, I'm kind of into it. I'll put links to everything down into the description below. Looking at it, they've got some test divers with some lifestyle shots, and they've got some Santi dry glove seals in the wrist cuffs. So that's pretty cool. And the men's version is currently taking or at least some retailers are currently taking pre-orders on the 2nd of October. The women's version is going to be introduced later. I'm still trying to find a cost or a price. It's probably going to be, well, it's definitely going to be more expensive than their 101. But hey, I don't know. It looks like a very nice dry suit. So yeah, keep your eyes out on that one. So, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, I'm going to talk briefly about Scubapro. Scubapro was founded in 1963 by Gustave Delaveille and Dick Bonin, and in 2023 they see their 60th anniversary, and Scubapro is stronger than ever. Today, Scubapro is a global brand, and you'll find them around any dive site or dive boat because scuba divers around the world just trust Scubapro as a brand. I personally have never had a problem recommending any Scubapro dive equipment to anyone asking. I used it whilst I was scuba diving and teaching, and so did all of my students as well. They were using Scubapro equipment, and no matter where you are in the world, it won't be hard to find a service center because they're located all over the world. The divers are Scubapro's inspiration. Every product, every enhancement, every decision, everything that they do is designed to make your diving experience the best that it can be. Because without this blue planet of divers eager to explore, their innovations mean nothing. And Scubapro want to thank you for being part of their journey and for being their inspiration for the future. They are so excited to share their latest innovations with you. The best is yet to come. A few big things this year have been the Ulex range of wetsuits that use a plant-based foam instead of neoprene, which is better for the planet, and the S-Tech fins, which are a more technical focused fin, a bit of a hybrid between the Seawing Nova and the Jet fin. One really cool feature is that you can actually adjust their buoyancy by adding or removing little metal plates in the fin before the dive. But for more information, head over to scubapro.com. On to some Ask Mark questions. Christopher Blair asks similar questions along these lines. Going on a liveaboard trip to Indonesia. Very nice. On my last liveaboard trip, it was miserable to put on a wetsuit every few hours as it never seemed to get dry, even when hanging it inside out. When it comes to tropical locations, do you find merit in considering taking a dry suit or multiple wetsuits? Or do you think using multiple dive skins, so there's always a dry one, and a single wetsuit to make getting ready less miserable? Not really. Yeah, the problem is with humid environments and anywhere where there's no wind or there's too much shade, so your wetsuits don't dry effectively between dives. Yeah, you kind of have to put that like cold, soggy wetsuit back on. You kind of just have to embrace the suck, really. It's not nice, but hey, you get over it pretty quick. One thing you can do, if there is a shower on board, just jump in the shower and put your wetsuit on. That way, you're kind of acclimatized to the temperature. You can always, if there's like a kettle available, just give it a splash with some hot water so that it warms up the wetsuit first, and then you can put it on. Obviously, test it first because you don't want to put like literally a boiling wetsuit on your body, and try more like hot water instead of boiling water, obviously. Yeah, no. I mean, if you get like an extra rash vest or something, no, it's just going to be just the same, really. It may slow it down a little bit, but nah, I wouldn't worry too much about bringing extra wetsuits or a dry suit unless you're diving particularly deep. It's just, yeah, it's unnecessary. Well, I wouldn't say unnecessary. It's an unfortunate like occupational hazard when it comes to diving, and putting on like cold, wet wetsuits. There's no good way around it. Yeah, just try and, if it's on a rack, try and make sure that you're either at one extremity so that your wetsuit isn't in the middle of a bunch of wet wetsuits, because then yours is never going to dry. Whereas if it's on the outside, at least one side is definitely going to be dry. Otherwise, yeah, hop in a shower whilst you're putting it on, or try and get some hot water either from a tap or a kettle, and just give it a quick soak so that when you put it on, it's not quite so just cold and wet. Tonsi asks, diving with a twin bladder wing, should both inflators be attached diving in a semi-dry? So when you say twin bladder wing, I presume they mean a redundant bladder wing. And yeah, so in more technical diving, you can have a like a single wing, as it were. So the actual like buoyancy wing that goes on your back on your BCD, and then inside you have two separate bladders, and it's all down to redundancy. That's why we call them redundant bladder wings. And you use one just as usual. You have your low pressure inflator hose with the corrugated hose that comes over your left hand shoulder, and you use that to control your buoyancy and to adjust your buoyancy in the water. And in the unlikely event that your inflator fails, either the hose, the actual inflator itself, the corrugated hose, the bladder gets punctured or something, then a redundant bladder wing has a separate bladder, identical on the inside, or mostly identical on the inside, except you now have a second corrugated hose on the right hand side that usually goes behind your right hand shoulder, and then you can kind of get the inflator on your right hand hip. Now the second inflator means that you can now continue to use your BCD as normal by inflating it and deflating it, and continue the dive. But yes, you would have them both connected. Usually you'd have them connected to a separate first stage, just for added redundancy, because if it's the first stage that fails, then you can continue to control your buoyancy with the second inflator, which is using a second first stage now. And it's very much like twin sets. So when I'm diving twins in a dry suit, then my BCD is connected to one first stage, but my dry suit is connected to the other first stage. So if something goes wrong with one, I can still adjust my buoyancy by either using my BCD or my dry suit. It just adds that redundancy into it. If you're diving in a semi-dry, then yes, your BCD is the only thing, apart from maybe a lift bag, for you to adjust your buoyancy. So yes, you have them both connected, both switched on, but ideally connected to separate first stages. On a similar question, Mark Rogers says, I've come to scuba late in life, discovering it in my 50s, and I love it. I've found your channel very helpful. You're welcome. What I'm struggling with is buoyancy in a dry suit. I've tried just using the dry suit for buoyancy. I've tried a combination of my wing and dry suit, just using the dry suit to relieve squeezing. I seem to find this better for me, but what would you recommend? Really, whatever works for you. The usual recommendation is use your BCD on the surface, use your dry suit underwater. But if that doesn't work for you, then yeah, just whatever does. It's usually better to use just one, one or the other, just so that as you're ascending, you don't have to vent gas from your BCD and your dry suit and kind of do a little bit of both. If you can just do it in one foul movement, then yeah, that usually makes it a little bit easier, or a bit more streamlined. Good thing about dry suits is that they tend to be automatic. So you have your auto shoulder dump, and yeah, I tend to use my dry suit more than anything, just because it adds extra insulation. So it's keeping you warm, and it relieves that squeeze as well. So yeah, it just makes your life a bit more comfortable underwater. Whereas your BCD, okay, there's an argument it can help you get a bit better trim in the water, but realistically, no. But it's down to whatever works for you, basically. If you're more comfortable using a little bit of combination, then yeah, just do it. You do you. There's as with so many things in scuba diving, there's no obvious right or wrong answer. As long as it works for you and your diving team, then yeah, go for it. But yeah, don't worry too much about. There's no scuba police who are gonna like come over and arrest you for using your BCD to adjust your buoyancy on a dry suit dive. It's just, yeah, as long as it works for you, just crack on. AFT Vlog says, hi Mark, can I fit the X-Deep LS200 second stage to my Apex DST first stage? Yeah, mechanically. I don't see why not. They may not settle at first. I don't know what the interstage pressure on the NX 700, I think, is the name of the X-Deep first stage. They've got a couple now. They have had some recalls recently, but and the DST first stage, yeah, it's all a balancing act. I mean, there's no reason why you can't, yeah, just fit the LS200 second stage onto the end of a standard regulator hose and then attach that regulator hose to a Apex DST first stage. But as soon as you pressurize it, you might find it either a bit hard to breathe from because the second stage needs adjusting, or it just free flows because the interstage pressure is too high on the Apex first stage. That they may need some balancing, and there probably won't be an Apex technician out there who'll be willing to adjust it for you. It depends on the country. Here in the UK, we're quite strict, and we have to do things by the book. But yeah, if you know what you're doing, you could adjust it. So no, there's no like mechanical reason why it wouldn't work. But it means that the warranty will probably be voided. A lot of the like CE and anti-testing and whatnot, they won't have tested it on an Apex first stage, so it won't be like ANSTI tested and certified from that. But mechanically, yeah, you could. 391 Wombat asks, thinking about getting a dry suit, and they all seem so bulky with telescopic waists to get them that then have to be cinched up. Zippers apparently are pretty waterproof. Why don't they come in two pieces, top and bottom, that zip together? No excess material, and could mix and match tops and bottom sizes for a better fit. Also, it would be much easier to get in and out of. Yeah, so it's only front entry dry suits that tend to be telescopic. Just because you need to like bend your head to get into it. So a telescopic body just allows a little bit of extra freedom, whereas a back entry, it's pretty rare to find telescopic back entry dry suits. But why do they not come in two pieces, a top and bottom that zip together? It'll just come down to the start or the stop. Because sure, the zipper will be waterproof, but it's got to start and stop somewhere, and that overlap needs to be waterproof. It's a cool concept. There were some, I don't know if they still make them, to be honest. I forget who it was, but they did a two-piece dry suit, and it was like a roll top dry bag kind of seal around the waist. So you put the like trouser pant section on, and then the top jacket section, you'd have plenty of overlap, but then you like rolled it in some way, and then you wrap it around your waist and secure it. So that was your seal. So they do kind of exist. I don't think it had a zipper. So yeah, if you did have a zipper, it would kind of have to be fixed at one point. So even though it is, yeah, a two-part suit, it's actually a one-part suit, just kind of zipped at the waist. No, I don't think. I imagine someone's tried to come up with a design, but the fact that we haven't seen one probably means it's not that practical. There have been plenty of weird and wonderful suits. There was one from, was it Poseidon? And it had the zipper that went like through the crotch. You had to climb it, like it started at your chest and then went round between your legs and then like up your butt. And yeah, you had to crawl in through the crotch and then zipper it straight up. That wasn't telescopic. You've got the U zip. You don't see it very often. The only recent one was the Aqualung Fusion and the Apex Fusion dry suits, because it was they bought the like white dry suit designs, and that has a zipper that starts on one shoulder, goes down around your chest, and then back up to the other shoulder. They're okay. They're a little bit bulky, and they're kind of tough to do by yourself if they're brass zippers, because you kind of have to change hands, and it's hard to push and pull at the same time. In the water, once you got your BCD on and all of that, it doesn't feel that bulky, especially the overlap. You don't notice that section, especially on membrane dry suits. You don't get telescopic neoprene dry suits, but yeah, you don't notice it that much. And a good fitting dry suit, like the new Seal dry suit, the what's it, XL01, no, SL01. Crazy names. All they did is just adjust the tailoring so that the zipper is a bit more horizontal, and they eliminated a lot of the need for that telescopic body. So yeah, just modern designs nowadays are a bit more comfortable with less overlap. So nah, it's not so much of an issue. But I don't think, well, I've certainly never seen a two-part dry suit that zip together. It would be cool. Like freediving suits, you get the bottom in one size and then the top in a different size. So if you're like a jacked like bodybuilder and you have this huge upper body but you continually skip leg day, then yeah, you can have a large on top and then a small like lower section. But with dry suits, nah, if that's the case, then yeah, you kind of have to go down the made to measure route, unfortunately. I don't think a two-part dry suit we're going to see too many of them in the near future, at least. And that's it for today. Remember to head over to our sponsor today, which is Scubapro. If you just type in scubapro.com, it usually goes to their website. Check out the awesome things on their website. They're celebrating their 60th anniversary, so they got some limited edition gear. I've seen some on Mike's Dive Store. They're advertising the regulators and the G3 with the like limited edition red detailing. And of course, head over to our website, scubadivermag.com, to check out the latest scuba diving news and reviews. Thank you for listening, everybody, and of course, safe diving.